I'm so happy you found Virago 24/7. If you're loving this podcast, please go to wherever you're listening and rate the show. 5 stars would be very much appreciated. I wouldn't mind a review as well. And also, please share this podcast with your friends. Hi, I am your host, Leonette Talley, and you are listening to Virago 24/7. Virago is Latin for female warrior, and 24/7 is for all day, every day. Virago 24/7 is a weekly podcast that brings diverse women together to talk about life and our experiences in this world. We share our views on self-love, mental health, marriage, children, friendships, and really anything that needs to be talked about. Here, you will find everyday growth, everyday healing with everyday warriors. Recording this show was so much fun. There was a lot of laughter, a ton of conversation. I have Philip Talley, my husband, on this show, along with Angelina Mullins and Colt Prattes. And we talk about marriage and relationships, and it was so much fun. We talked for 2 hours. We recorded for 2 hours, and once we were done recording, we kept the conversation going, and they stayed for another 2 hours. We connected with them. It was fabulous. So Angelina and Colt are Broadway dancers, and they performed in Smash. Colt is also an actor, and he did the television remake of Dirty Dancing. He was also on an episode of This Is Us. If you watched last season, Philip and I were watching, and we're like, wait a minute, that's Colt in that scene, in that episode. They're both lovely, lovely people. They have a YouTube channel called Part of Love, where they talk about relationships and anything involving romantic relationships. So anyways, they came on the show. They came on Virago 24/7 to talk to us about all things marriage and relationship. It was a ton of fun, so much that we had to split it into 2 parts. So hope you enjoy. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I am here today with Angelina Mullins and Colt Prattes. And Angelina's been on the show with me and Jenna a few weeks ago, so go back and listen to that show. It was called Love and Marriage, where we just, talk about love. And Jenna, our friend Jenna, is getting divorced and all that good stuff, so we talk about that. But today we have our men here. We have Colt and we have Philip Talley.
Hello.
Ooh, say that again.
Hello, good people.
Oh, I knew his voice was going to sound so good. When he calls me on the phone, he's like, hey, baby. I'm like, say it again. Say it again. Before you say anything else, say it again. So Colt and Angelina have a YouTube channel, and it's called Part of Love. And they talk about love and marriage and finding love and anything revolving that world of, intimacy. So I would love for you all to let me know how you started and how you came to meet each other. And then we'll get into the whole love and marriage stuff.
Okay. Well,
ladies first.
Well, I've been here, so I kind of gave our a little bit of background for us. I gave our spiel. But we have been together for 11 plus years. We met on Broadway performers. We met on Broadway in 2009 during the last revival of West Side Story. It was
not the last one. There has been another one. They revived it yet again.
You're like, we're not the young.
We're not young. We're not young anymore. No.
Somebody said that to me the other day because I'm currently working on a show, and they said, oh, you did West Side. You did it with blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no. I did the revival. And they were like, no, that was the revival. And I was like, no, I did the revival. I did the first revival. Yeah, the first revival. And they're like, in the 70s? No.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, so we met during West Side Story. We are both madly in love with love. We're obsessed with love. I think both of us, we've talked about this a lot, and I'm sure it'll come back to this at some point, but we both wanted to find love. Like that was something from a very young age that we both realized was so important to us. I always tell this story of, do y'all remember there were these like little, and they still have them, they're like little half like cushions with arms that you can like lay on the floor and like lean back on.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
So I remember I was in my bedroom and I was laying on one of those things and I just thought, I remember all I could think was, I just want to meet somebody that I could live in a box under a bridge with and still know that we loved each other, that it didn't have to do with money, that it didn't have to do with anything else. It had to start with that. And I mean, I was 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was a little baby
You thought
romantic.
about that? That is so
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I thought about it a lot because I came from, my parents were never married in my lifetime. And my mom was married multiple times throughout my life.
Okay.
And in a way of I would come home and the person she had been dating, she would be married to. And then I would come home and they would be gone. And it was very transient in that nature. And I remember, for a myriad of reasons, not liking them. And that's
another show for
yeah,
another day.
exactly.
I'm gonna have you back on because I love this kind of stuff. I like to dig deep into people's like backgrounds. Yeah.
Down a road.
Especially you keep plying me with scotch. Like,
Yeah.
I'll tell you everything.
There you go.
Yeah, by the way, cheers.
Cheers. It's Friday.
Cheers.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
You hear me trying to drop my voice to try and be half as cool. I'm like, should have smoked before this. Just bring it down, Colt. But I just remember love was something that I didn't see the way that I believed it could be. And so it became something that was really, really important for me to find. And I know that though your story is entirely different, that was something that was so important to us. So when we met, we spend all night, every night, talking about love and relationships and our love and our relationship and other people's and how our life is going to go and how to do that together. And after enough people came to us and said, well, you guys, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? And we're like, why don't we take these lessons that life has taught us? We don't know everything about love, but we know for sure that this is a part of love. And we were like, wait a second.
I think we found
That's a name.
Oh, I love it. That's how you felt.
And that's how we found the name.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I think like when we first
And
met,
you've been doing it for how long? Sorry.
2 years in October.
yeah, going on 2 years.
And it has come so far.
I think I told you when we were here with Jennifer, like our first episode, we were like, okay, set up the camera, set up the iPhone. It was not an iPhone. Set it up. Oh, shit, fell over.
It kept falling over because it was up against like a box of Oreos.
Can they hear me, babe? Check the volume.
It's like, I don't know how to check volume. It's an iPhone. But just talk.
Well, this is a part of love right here. You know?
First one's called Why like Fighting is a Part of Love.
Okay.
And why fighting is awesome. Why it can be.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure
We
we'll
certainly
talk about.
fought for that episode.
Cool. And then I edited it on the phone in an app. So I was sitting in the dressing room. We were doing Aladdin at the time.
Yeah.
Which was the next time we got to work together after West Side. And I'm sitting in the dressing room just like trying to pinch and zoom and like edit. And I'm trying to add text. But you can't see it because it's a little screen.
Yeah.
And
It's like, I think you need to do that on the computer. And
I was like, I don't know how. Okay.
You learned so much.
But you do it that way now?
Oh,
Like you
now I work
freak
in Final Cut Pro 10. I have a whole workflow. It's very easy. I mean, we have new cameras and a whole setup.
But it started off on
It's
that.
taken a
I
lot of
absolutely
stuff.
love to hear how
Propped
people
up on
start
the Oreo
off.
box.
Yeah.
I love
Dude,
that.
That is the coolest. And I think
Because Oreos aren't even a box. It's like a
Still a bag.
yeah, it's like a bag. So I just kept being like,
that was the only thing you had to prop it up on was the Oreo.
well, it was that or Cheez-Its, and I really should have gone with the Cheez-Its.
Jesus.
Let's
That
be
would have
honest.
been a little bit more stable.
Gosh, that's
Should have
hilarious.
used a bottle. We always have bottles in the house. I don't know
know.
why I didn't grab one from the bar.
I love to hear like the beginnings of any company or anything because people think that I have to have all these things before I start. Everything has to line up just right, and it's like no, like just do
gotta
it.
start.
You just do it, and you figure it out as you go.
If you want to, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Which kind of nice transition into.
Yes. into marriage.
Hey,
So you all have been together 11 years.
Yeah.
And so we have been married 15.
I know, I hate being far.
15 years?
16. Yeah.
Going on 16 in September.
Married. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we met 2002, July 4th, 2002. So we kind of celebrate that day of that's the moment he saw me with my 22-year-old self. And he was like, who is this woman?
I mean,
Who's this young
I have to
lady?
know from this perspective, Philip,
Yeah,
what did
yeah.
you see? You met this
Thank you.
little
I was a
gorgeous
22-year-old
baby.
little child with a child at the time.
So the beauty of all this is, I'm a dentist, so I was interviewing her stepmother, and I think on the first day she came into work, well, the day I was interviewing her, she just kept talking about her daughters. Oh, you got to meet my daughters. I see you're single. And I was like, yeah, everybody think their daughters look good. Everybody does. So then she brought photos in on the day she started working. I was like, I have to meet
That one.
this
Well, because my
daughter.
sister and I we're stepsisters, so we look very different. So it's like, which type do you like? Do you like the blonde? Do you like the brown hair? But yeah, so I
You
didn't
were
know any of
definitely my
that.
type. So
I didn't know any of that.
she invited me that same day.
Yeah, my parents were having a 4th of July party.
Yeah,
But he brought a date
of course.
to meet me.
Of course, someone bring a date. So
Smart.
But I wasn't thinking anything. He walks down. I was like, oh, because she would talk to me about her boss. And I'm like, your boss? I'm 22. She didn't describe any, I didn't know what he looked like, race, gender. No, okay, I knew he was a guy. But she kept talking about my boss. And I'm like, your boss, you just think boss, 60,
Right.
50. I'm like 22.
Steve Martin.
Yeah, I'm like, so when he walks down, I'm like, oh, he's young. He's older than me, but he's
31
young.
year old.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Wait.
Well, he's 10 years older, so he's 32, but I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, he's older than me, but he's not like old.
right.
Right.
So I don't know. He kind of ditched his date, and she was not happy about that. She was a little jealous, and she gave me evil eyes the whole night.
bite you a few times.
Anyways, I was still in school, and I said, I had my 1-year-old, and still in school working, and I was working on a car wash. So he lived, if you know Georgia, in North
Druid Hills, right off of North Druid Hills.
So I was working in Buford, which is 30 miles away. And he happened to be in the area near my car wash to get his car washed.
There's a mall there.
Yeah, I'm like, hey. He's like, oh, I was just in the area. I'm like, you don't even live in this area. You're not even close to this area. So he got his car washed.
This is Forever 21 here.
Yeah.
I love Forever 21.
Gosh. So then I don't know. He pursued me for a while until a year and a half or so. Yeah, I was not interested like that. I want to be friends. I'm still getting my crap together, and
Well, it's a lot to be like.
yeah.
You had a newborn baby, basically.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah,
trying
You
to
were
balance.
just starting. You were getting ready to graduate from UGA.
Yes, I was about to graduate. So, anyways, it was a whole thing. But we got married at 25, and this is the best relationship I've ever been in. I mean, I haven't been in a lot of relationships, so this was
It's
the
good.
best one.
It's good that it's the best one you've been a part of because you really bought into it. So I was like, you're you invested. I would.
Too late now.
But okay, with marriage though, I mean, I was so young, so I had to learn how to communicate. I had to learn how to do everything. He'd been married before, not long, about a year or so.
Yeah.
I've grown up so much in the last 16 years of our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys think there's a few things that I know that make a strong marriage. So what do you guys think that would be? Besides communication, because everyone's going to say that about every relationship.
It's something that we always talk about, which is before I actually answered that question, it's kind of what you just said. We're told that love is this very natural thing, and yes, in certain ways it is. Some of the feelings it produces, some of these things that feel unexplainable, yes. But we have a working definition of love that we have come up with because we're expected to understand this incredibly intricate and complex thing just naturally. We're just supposed to meet somebody and go, oh, well, now it's perfect. Don't have to check that box. And that's not how it works. And we always say love is action or the lack thereof over time. Love is a verb. Love is something that takes work. It takes action. So I would argue that the very basic pillar of marriage is, are you willing? It's willingness. Are you willing to do that work? Yeah. Do you love this person enough? Are you willing to work for them? Are you willing to make certain sacrifices, but they're not sacrifices the same way that people think they are.
Yeah.
True.
And I think if you think it's a sacrifice that you're like, it's just so hard. It's like, are you really with the right person?
Yeah.
Correct.
Like
Absolutely.
if it's
Correct.
yeah, I don't know what you guys think about this, but when people say, oh, relationships are so hard, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that because yes, we've had our issues, and yes, it's quote unquote somewhat work, but is it hard? It shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't be work.
Difficult.
I don't know. I don't like that terminology that people say, well, marriage, this is what marriage is. I'm like, well, it doesn't, not really.
No.
For me, I don't like that marriage is hard work. I don't like that term.
Hard work, no.
Yeah.
I mean, when you love someone so much that you want to please them, you want to make them happy, and vice versa, then yes, it takes work, but it's not a negative kind of, there's not a negative connotation there.
People like to turn it into like this negative, like, if it's not hard, then, we're doing
But I
something
think
wrong.
you're right.
Or maybe
you're with the wrong person.
Or maybe they say it to justify their issues. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of unresolved issues personally, and we get into relationships to hide those issues. We get into relationships to cover them. We have our issues, whatever they may be, and we don't want to deal with them. So we get into a relationship, and then we put that on that person. It's not necessarily that issue, because if we don't communicate, and I mean, the truth is, yes, everybody says communication is key, but it is.
Yeah.
Right.
It truly is.
It is in so many ways.
Yeah.
But I think it starts with the self, right? Like whether we're dealing with couples or, just multiple people, it has to start with just you and the self. And so if you can't communicate well with yourself, meaning if you can't accept what the situation is or what, the issue is that you're having a problem with, like certainly can't expect to then go into a relationship with someone else. And then, I mean, if you can't do it by yourself, you can't do it well in that relationship. So I think it's working on yourself until you're able to, join together. And honestly, when we got together, we weren't really whole selves, we were kind of messes, but we worked through that and we
Well, there is a middle ground here of what we're not saying is you have to be the perfect version of yourself to be in a relationship.
Right.
It's that the person that you're with, like I made the mistake of, I shared with her some childhood trauma that I'd never shared with anybody. And that's what the episode Fighting, our first episode on Part of Love, is about. This very, very pivotal moment in our relationship. It was our first major fight. We call it the frozen fight because we were on either side of like a bathroom door, just sobbing and like trying to get it together.
like Anna and Elsa.
It was literally
Which
like,
one were you, Cole? Were you
I don't even know. I assume because of the hair, she's Elsa.
No, you were certainly Elsa.
Oh God, I was dramatic.
certainly
I'm not gonna lie. It was rough. But that moment was, I had a choice to make. I had what felt like a very hard choice to make, and it was a difficult choice. And I love that you used that word a second ago, because relationships shouldn't be difficult. They are work, but it shouldn't be difficult.
Right.
And I think changing the vocabulary, changing our vernacular with regards to relationships is what's going to help people in the next generations moving forward find the love they deserve that much quicker. But I had a choice to make, which was, am I going to hold on to my pain, or do I trust this person enough to get rid of it and to be with her as a better version of myself, not the best version, but a better version. And that's what I do every day. That's what we do every day. Is
I love the trust word.
Yeah,
that's huge. We have to trust the person,
of course. And if you don't, it's okay. Break up.
Yeah.
Right.
Get divorced.
Right.
Like, break up. Get divorced. Do it. You were married, like you said, for a hot second. Yeah. Thank God you didn't just tough that out.
Yeah. Thank God we didn't have kids or any of that.
Absolutely.
So you want to talk about that?
And you know what? Yeah, I'll talk about that. But one of the things that you mentioned, Colt, that you talking about, you know, people go into relationships and they have issues, and some people go into relationships think that partner's going to fix their issues for them. But, you know, I always say that, and I know it sounds corny, but, and I stole this from someone, but a marriage or love is a commitment to grow together. You know, that's something that, yes, we both had things walking into it, but if we know that we're going to work on this together, we're going to commit to each other together, that we're going to be better versions of ourselves over time, then yeah, you got to trust that person to know that they're going to put in the work, put in the time. But yeah, it is a commitment to grow together, because we're definitely not the same people. No. We're not the same couple that we were when we got married 15 years ago. And we're not the same individuals, which is great. I'm glad that we're not.
Yeah.
Because if we were to stay the same, we wouldn't be here right now.
No.
So
if you're not growing, you're dying.
I just have to go with some major
that right there,
because this is so rare. This is so rare, and that is so beautiful. Like I love that. I'm going to steal that. Marriage is a commitment to grow together.
Yeah, you say that often. I don't know who told us that, but it's something that you.
I remember who told us that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He's not listening, so I can just steal it.
It is my original quote.
Yes.
But I think also, like, I am a person that I don't trust easily. I'm very skeptical of people and the world, and I go off my instincts, intuition. And I think when I was younger, I didn't really listen to it because I'm like, oh, I need to be a nice girl and give them a chance. Yeah, we talked about that. But as I'm getting older, I listen to it. And I think once I met him, I was just like, I was more, my thought process was, just because I have a child doesn't mean I'm like an easy, an easy thing. So I was always like, no, don't get it twisted. Yeah, I have a child, but I'm not that kind of girl that just goes willy-nilly with guys. That's not me. But with him, he was so patient and like I said in the last podcast, I'm like, it wasn't in a creepy way. It wasn't, it was like he persisted, but kind of, let me breathe. And I think also with you, Philip, I love that you, even though I don't trust, I'm like, I don't trust 100%. I trust you 99%. And I think a lot of our issues have been because I don't trust, and I'm always accusing, and we can talk about that today or another time. But I love that you've been patient with that. Like, you don't call me a crazy person, or, you're just kind of like, I hear you. You're wrong, but I hear you. But I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. So yeah, I think my biggest thing is trust, and I've grown a lot in that because of you, and I thank you so much.
You're welcome.
But trust is hard. I mean, now obviously you're madly in love and trust each other, but I struggle with trust big time. Like, he's actually the opposite. He'll give everyone
way too much.
Way too much trust. And
Oh my gosh,
I'm
Philip
like,
too. I'm like, no.
Guilty until proven, right? And, but I think that's just how maybe we're similar in how we sort of self-preserve.
I think
you know what I mean? Because when you have processed so much trauma in the past, you're like, not going down that road again. But
you ain't going to fool me.
Exactly. But it is a fine line, and you've helped me with it, of being like, we can keep our guard up, but maybe let's learn to let people in safely.
Yeah.
Although it's gone the opposite sometimes.
The irony is, I have actually, yes, I think we're finding a middle ground, because the issue on my end was that I would see somebody, I would have a gut feeling, and it wasn't even a gut feeling. I wonder if you feel the same way. No, I see you. I see exactly who you are. I'm banking on hope.
Yes.
You guys are hopeful
I am
man.
hopelessly.
Okay.
I've said this a lot. I'm hopelessly romantically optimistic.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very optimistic.
And the tag to that is I'm hopelessly romantically optimistic. I assume everything will work out in my favor until the very moment that it doesn't.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And like I will. I'm like, nah, it's
Which
gonna
is
happen.
so
It's great.
beautiful and inspiring,
It doesn't, and I'm like, all right, fuck it, next.
Yes.
But
Yeah, you guys are gonna get along just
I mean,
fine.
we're way past that. We're good.
And I feel like such a jerk sometimes because, he has his own practice, even with employees. I'm just like, yeah, no, next.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, oh, I'll give them, and he gives them time
Multiple
and time and time and time and time. And they have to screw up like 80,000 times before he's like, okay, maybe not. I'm like, two strikes, you're out, next. Like, bring the next one
Now,
in.
we
And I
have
feel
only-
like such a jerk.
We only have a couple of employees, but what I will say is, I wonder again if this is a similarity. Does it have to do with? For me, it has to do with the fact that I know what a giant. Am I allowed to cuss?
Yes.
What an absolutely giant fuck up
Yeah.
I was. I know how many chances I've been given. And there's some people that know me from, let's say, a decade ago before I met her, that probably see me and feel that I'm irredeemable. I just know what a colossal fuck up I was for a long time. And I know that there are people who in my past may, if they judge me solely by who I was then, and there are many that do, they would not know me as the person that I am now. Mm-hmm. And I actually had this conversation the other day because I'm currently working with some people that I went to high school with because we're back in Georgia. Mm-hmm. And they said, you seem different. Do you feel different than you were in high school? And I said, are you fucking crazy?
No,
Are you not?
Exactly.
Why would... Yes. I pray to God that I'm different.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as you said, we're growing and changing together, and that's been the biggest blessing of my entire life, is this one who has helped me as a sounding board and also someone to buttress up against, because iron sharpens iron, right?
Definitely.
And so you find somebody that is, in my case, stronger than me. And I'm thankful that we've
different ways.
Yeah,
Yes.
that we balance each other.
Yes.
But whatever to really stretch the metaphor, whatever the elements in your steel and your iron that are different than my elements, I'm so happy that we have those, because without that, I wouldn't have changed. Absolutely. And I think too many people don't do it.
I feel that, Colt, because you're mentioning, for me, when I look at someone and I'm saying, man, I know who they are, but I said, well, let me just change their environment. If I change their environment, they're going to give me a different result.
Yes.
I said, okay, they made a mistake, but hopefully they learn from it. And then the next time they do it, I said, well, it wasn't as bad as a mistake as the other one was. But I agree with you. It comes to a point, and that's what I've learned with Leonette, is she really compliments me well. Because there's certain things that, for her, she's so generous. And so, I would tip my 20%, and Leonette's like, yeah.
Was it 20 though?
Not initially,
Okay.
but it was a tip though.
It's more like 15-ish.
Yeah, I was at the 10% when I was broke. But then I would tip it. Then she's like, yeah, that's surprising. So I've learned to be more generous and be a better person because of Leonette. Because, I probably wouldn't have grown as much as I had without her than I am with her. But I used to give those chances. I've learned not to give as many chances. Now. That's the biggest thing. I'll still give a chance, but I won't give as many.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess it's worked out for me being married to him because, I haven't screwed up that much. But, going back to the patients, he has a ton.
Walking through the walls.
You have a, there was one time, he brings this up. This was like early on at our old house. We like to talk.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot. And so we would sit outside. We had our two little chairs and a little table in between us, and we just sit out there and talk at night. And I don't know what we were arguing about. He remembers, I don't. And I was just like, well, then fine. And I got up from the chair as fast as I could. And I was going to go in through the sliding doors and the screen. I forgot that we left it up. And I ran into it. And then he's like, God, don't like ugly. That's like, he's like, God, don't like ugly.
That's what you ran into.
And I ran in it. I didn't even look back. I opened it and I went inside. I was trying to do my grand exit. And I was like, that was foolish.
I am stealing that. God don't like ugly.
Yeah, he says it all the time. Anytime, we're like, we don't really, we debate. We argue sometimes. I think we have one big blow up maybe once a year. And then it's out of our system, and then we keep it moving. So we bicker. Mm-hmm. So then, if something happens, if I trip while we're bickering, he's like, "See, God don't like ugly." See, I'm like, why are you so amazing?
He's joking. It's like Cole has this thing with me where he calls God.
The cell phone. I was just gonna say that.
Oh, really?
So he calls God.
I don't call him. He calls me.
He calls you. What does he say?
So we'll be fighting, and he just had it.
Yeah, I got it.
I love it.
I got it. Yeah, no, I'm not being. I'm not being rude. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, so, okay. Well, you're the one who called. All right. Let's keep going.
Oh,
and
my.
And I can't be mad at him.
You can't be mad.
No. That just breaks it all up.
It's like God's telling you, be kind to her.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there's that. So there's that voice that I mean, if you are religious, if you listen to sermons, I mean, we're not religious, but we do listen. I listen to Joel Osteen radio on 128 is like, I will listen to that all day. And otherwise the radio's kind of off in the car for me. Mm-hmm. Sometimes sports, sometimes business stuff, but mostly like I'll listen to that or the radio's off. But if you listen to anybody talk about God in a non-personified sense, it's that still small voice, right? Mm-hmm. It's your conscience. It's that thing. So whether you do or don't believe, the reality is we all hear something. And there's always that moment when you're in an argument with your person, especially if you genuinely love them. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, a sign of whether it's the end all be all for you, it's a sign you love somebody. If you're arguing with them and you go, son of a bitch, I'm wrong. Yes. And or I just don't care enough. I don't want to keep arguing like this. Yeah. And so in that moment, I realized that the best way for me to deal with that is God speaking to me. What I consider God is speaking to me, and what I consider God to be is love, is everything. And in that moment, I don't know what we were talking about. I don't remember the argument, but I was just like, I have to turn it into a joke to get it into reality.
Yeah. Well, he knows me so well that I will not back down. Mm-hmm. And I will also hold that feeling with me all day long.
Showing up.
Yes.
No.
So even when...
You and I are so much alike. This is why we get along. I
both of us are just...
Yeah, they're like drinking.
Hiding behind the mics, just
so then
drinking our second glass of scotch.
He's better than me because he'll be like... find a way to do a joke, or even if even if I'm kind of wrong and I'm like, I'm not letting go of this, he'll come to me and just like make a joke and be like, when are you gonna love me again? When are we gonna be best friends again?
That's
Eat
my
this.
favorite.
I don't like you right now, but I got you.
Just so you know, this does not mean that I like you.
Yeah.
but
I made these drinks for us.
Yeah.
And I think that we should be best friends.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of fucking tired.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it. I love it.
It just works out so much better.
I wish more relationships were like that, because I hold a grudge too, but I've learned, and that I would throw things back from like 10 years ago, back to the future, like back into now. And he's like, why do you do that? Because it pertains to what happened before, and we just haven't learned our lesson. I get so self-righteous. Like, he's like, we just can focus on what's happening right now. We don't have to like dredge up all this stuff.
I used to do that.
Me too. I don't do it as much anymore, do I?
No, you've definitely gotten better in the last 6
I'm trying
months.
to grow as a person. 6 months? No, but sometimes I feel like...
He played you.
He said no, it's been like a year
You set that up. You set that up.
No, and it makes sense. I'm like, I wouldn't want someone to keep throwing stuff in my face, especially if I've apologized for it. Or he's like, but I thought we talked about it. I thought we got past it. I'm like, well, obviously I'm not past it. Maybe I just shoved it down. So I have to learn, like, if I'm not past it, I'm like, hey, can I just ask you one more question on that? Like, I feel like it wasn't settled. I feel like you didn't explain yourself. So I'm learning just to kind of calm my ass down, because I'm very, like, a fiery Puerto Rican, and I'm just like, let's fight. And so he's more calm, cool, and collected. So
that is certainly a skill that is learned over time, I think, in any good relationship, about just like, can I just speak to you about this? Because I used to be the same way before. I mean, you got a crazy Italian girl here.
They're very similar to Puerto Ricans.
The first part of love starts with, I am married to an Italian Catholic Irish girl from Boston.
Yeah, that's
fighting
a lot.
is a part of life.
Lifestyle.
Like,
It's a
you're
lifestyle.
right.
You know, and
It's
you
like
mirror
breathing.
what you know. You mirror what you know growing
Yeah.
up. So then to come into this and be like, well, I really love this guy, and we can't live like this forever.
Yeah.
We have to learn to talk to each other. But what I love too about our relationship, and I can see it with you guys, is that yes, not only are we best friends and not only are we romantic, but sometimes you take on different roles. Like sometimes you're, and this is not in a weird way, but you're the daddy figure, and sometimes I need to be fathered in ways that are patient and quiet and small, and that's so loving. And sometimes you need to be, mommied and just nurtured, and but your role in marriage shifts sometimes, like
Definitely.
by the hour.
Situation.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And
I like what you said, Colt, when you're talking about you knew when you're in the argument that you were wrong, and you heard something. And that's that spirit, whatever you believe, but it's that spirit telling you. And that happened to me last night.
Oh, really? What happened?
So
Come on, somebody.
when Leonette said,
I'm like, were we arguing
hey, I
last night?
told you 2 weeks ago you were going to be on this podcast. And I was like, well, I do have the CE course that I'm doing. I told you that on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
That I wasn't going to be on it. And I'm thinking to myself, dang, that's not a good excuse.
And I was really quiet.
You were very
That's what made you
quiet.
think
That's beautiful.
That's what I knew.
Normally I would be like, 2 days is not, I'm not going to cancel it. I'm just going to do it myself. Like normally I would have been like,
As I was telling
just
that,
quiet.
giving her that excuse, I said to something said to me, yeah, that's so lame. That's so weak. As many times she's done things for me and committed to me. So we were upstairs chilling in we call it our hotel room, and relaxing.
I love
Because it's away
that.
from the kids.
Oh
and I have
my
like
God.
those dark, what are they called? Those black,
Like
not-
blackout curtains?
Yeah, blackout curtains, but they're gray and the
So
walls
it's
are
not your
gray.
bedroom,
we
it's
literally-
your hotel room.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
our
so
We
hotel
just
room.
That's
bought
sexy.
those.
Yeah.
We did, because we were like, we need a little
That's the whole
privacy.
thing.
Yeah, so it feels very sexy. And then he has this we have like a little bar, and he has the scotch up there. So all he has to do is bring ice and refill it.
You guys are
So I was like, you know what?
Ever.
Y'all are my spirit animal.
I said, I will be there tomorrow at 11 for the podcast tomorrow. She's like, oh, you will? I was hoping for a better response, but
I was thinking, you better. No.
and then she changed the time, and she knows it's gonna be 12. I said, no, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there because I need to be there.
That was sweet.
So yeah, I heard that spirit
that.
talking to me, like you just said, in the moment. Because in the moment I was saying, I said, yeah, that wasn't a good excuse. That was pretty weak. So
It was.
here I am.
There's a couple of
Thank you
things
for
though that
being
you
here. I
said in
appreciate
there
it.
though. There's a couple of things that I really love. One of which I talked about recently on another thing that's on Part of Love that is a men's round table talk. Which if you have time,
oh my gosh.
I would love to have both of you come in because
Oh yeah.
everybody that does watch it would benefit from this. But one of the things was integrity. The integrity of, and actually before I get into integrity, let's keep that door open and help me remember. Morning, Scott.
It's past 12, so we're good.
It's not 9 a.m.
Right. So the integrity part is so important, but one of the things that on the podcast, what we've talked about before is, again, Joel Osteen is talking about, he comes home, his wife they have like a bubbler, like a little water bubbler, right? She likes for him to clean the inside when he changes the bottles, to clean the inside of the bubbler and also the top of the bottle. I know that is not necessary, and nobody's gonna know if I don't do it. but I know that she will feel comfortable knowing that I've done it. And I will feel better knowing that I do this for her. And what it speaks to, connecting to what the other thing that you said, is that action over time. You said, well, she has done this much for me in the past. She has loved you. It is your responsibility. It is your duty. It is, if you're going to stay in this, if you're going to be committed to this, it is your responsibility to love her the way that you said that you would, right?
Right.
Especially if she's keeping up her end of the bargain.
Right.
And all too often we get into these positions of comfort where we take advantage of our partner, and it's inevitable. I want to give a caveat here. It's inevitable that that's going to happen. You're going to find yourself in a position where you have taken advantage in a small way, and sometimes it's just like, she's like, please sit down. I want to take care of you. I want to do the thing. It's fine. I want to be good. Come on. No, sit there. I want to put everything away. Watch the shows. And I love that. But if I do that 2, 3, 4, 5 nights in a row, nah. Being a jackass.
Yeah. But wasn't that only really a part of like when we first got together? We were kids.
Yeah. The first time I vacuumed, she came in and I was like, huh?
Do I get a gold star?
Yeah. Where's my sticker?
Did you now wash the floor after you vacuumed? And he was like, what?
She was like, did you make dinner? I was like, no.
I vacuumed.
I vacuumed.
Oh my gosh,
what are you talking about?
Hilarious.
That dynamic, I mean, we're so different now. It's so funny, but like, you're right. But I also had these issues of being a good girl. And like, this is, another road that we'll go down maybe a little bit more in another podcast. But I was like, oh, I finally found this person that I love so much. I know I'm supposed to be with him for the rest of my life. So I'm supposed to be a good girl. And so I'm going to make him dinner every night and the house is going to be perfect. He's going to come home. And if I do all the right things, being a good girl, he's going to love me. And we weren't communicating about what we needed. Like I sometimes was tired and there was no shame in asking for help.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh.
There's no shame in that, but I was like, no, I'm going to do this. And then I would feel really angry at you if you didn't notice that the floor was spotless or
I don't give a shit.
Oh, it's so true. Oh my gosh. That hits a nerve because that was like a lot early on because I brought a child into our relationship and then we were married 2 years, had our second one, and then 2 years later. So it's like by the time I was 30, I have 3 kids and a husband and a dog. and that's how I was. I was like, well, he works because when we had the second child, I decided to stay home. And so I'm like, my job is to keep the house in order. Okay, when you have 2 little ones.
It's a lot of work. I can't imagine.
I mean, my oldest one was, in school, but the 2 little ones, it was 2 and a baby. It was horrendous. And so I would be such a bitch. I'm sorry, I was such a bitch. I was exhausted. Yeah. And then he was like, well, I can't read your mind. Because I thought I just had to figure it out. So I have learned over time, when I get overwhelmed, I'm like, I need your help. We still have, the stereotypical roles. And it works for us where, I manage the house and he works. And, I was working in the practice up until last year. So I kind of worked and then been home for the past 12 years. But, so I've learned that I can't assume that he knows how I'm feeling.
That is something I struggle with.
He had to point that out to me, and I'm like, okay. I think it goes back to the trust. Do I trust him enough if I express myself? Is he going to understand me, or is he going to do something? Or am I going to be left disappointed? Because I've expressed myself but nothing's happened. That's how I function.
But you're disappointed if you don't say it anyway.
Yes.
And so,
lose.
Exactly.
Right?
So now, anytime I get overwhelmed with anything, even like tedious, mental, just little stuff, I'm like,
stop texting me.
Yeah. The other day, I'm like, when I was coming to Jenna's house and Angelina was there. So our basement flooded. I had my nieces for like a few days.
This is all within this week.
Yeah, within the week. They were with me for 5 days.
You're on a simple chill week.
Yeah. And then he was out of town, so I'm here by myself with the kids. And the basement, literally, our walls were torn like open because of water damage.
Yeah, this is like this house was built in the 80s.
Old, so we have old pipes, so we keep having water damage.
So something's always
Yeah.
Blind.
busting.
So I'm like cleaning the basement because they're finally done. They put everything back together again. And so I was cleaning that day before Angelina and I went to our friend Jenna's house. So I'm doing all this, trying to get it all done. And he's texting me like the kids' activities and who's going to take them and what are they going to eat. And so and I'm just like, stop. I am cleaning. My mental load has been like heavy for a week because I've been doing this and this and this and this and this. I'm about to take a shower. I'm about to go to my friend's house and I'm going to have a nice dinner. You figure it out. I don't give a shit if they go to their things.
They can take an Uber.
Yeah, I'm like, they can miss one day. I was like, and I wrote all these things. It was a whole novel. I'm like, so my brain is done. And he's like, in the past, I would have just resented him for putting, and he doesn't know that I have this mental load, but I feel like, does he not know what I've been doing this whole week?
Can you not see this?
Do you not know how exhausting an 8 and a 3-year-old are? Like my nieces are 8 and 3, and then my 3 extra kids, and then all the things. And my grandmother was here, and she's a Dominican grandmother who needs a lot of stuff too. You know, there's a lot of things.
A lot of things.
So I was like, do you not know these things? So I've learned.
You should have texted us. We would have been like, oh my God.
So I was ready to go to Jenna's house and drink and have a nice time. It was a lovely evening. So I can't assume that he knows these things. The point to the story is that I've learned, like, dude, give me a break. We'll figure that. We're talking about the insurance claims and stuff. I'm just like, I don't have the mental capacity. So I've learned to ask for help. Yeah. And it's been a huge, huge, huge game changer because I don't feel as, like, resentful towards him. Like, you should know, but he's like, how should I know these things?
Of course.
Well, you should know. You always say you know me like the back of your hand, so you should know. Right.
Yeah, I say something else too, but we can't say that on the podcast.
Wait, what do you say?
That I know you like my left.
Hey!
Your left what?
I got it. It's okay. I understand.
I'm like, you say that?
I know you very well.
Yes, he knows you very well.
Oh my God.
Now I understand how well he knows you. Well, there's also something to what you said though, which is you expect him to understand you, and I guess because of part of love, we've gotten to a place where I hear things and then I hear what other people will hear, and I just want to kind of throw out there just in case, just in case there's someone who is listening to this and they want to throw it to their husband and be like, hey, or that they take that on. It's not just that you have to communicate. Yes, you have to communicate certain aspects of those things, but also that doesn't give, I believe in a lot of ways, that men, especially of the millennial generation and beyond, have been coddled beyond belief.
Okay.
I think that they have been told, because I'm technically, by like 6 months, I think. I'm a millennial.
6
yeah,
months.
get that
Are
shit.
you a boomer, Philip? No, boomers are how old? No, I'm kidding. I'm messing with
boomers
you.
Boomers are way over.
I like to mess with them.
But I was part of the generation that was told, you're great. You should get a trophy for just participating. You should get these things. And this gets into a larger argument that I or dialectic, as it were, or debate, I guess, technically, that I don't know is necessary here, but I think that men, a lot of times, especially younger men, are told you don't have to do anything. And I get worried that when people say, oh, well, and of whatever generation you are, if you're told, well, you're not supposed to understand everything that goes on in a woman's life, it's not an excuse.
Oh, I agree. Oh, yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
There are things that are reasons without being excuses. I actually had this talk with my father recently, with my dad, with my pop. See that regression real quick. His father was like, I've never called him that.
My father.
My father. I might as well have said padre. I've called him those two things an equal number of times. So the last time I was at his house, or we were at his house, I was out on the porch and we were having a conversation, we were having a cigarette, and I said, he was telling me something. I said, hey, Pop, I love you. And that's a reason that happened. But it's not an excuse. And I think separating those two things may be pivotal to relationships and especially to marriages long term, because there are a lot of times where, okay, I have a reason for not understanding that this was happening. I don't necessarily have an excuse.
So true.
It doesn't,
So true.
it's not carte blanche. Oh, I'm off the hook. I'm a guy. I don't have to understand everything that's going on in your life, or vice versa. Like, and I do think the vice versa is very important, because a lot of times, and I think this happens, and we've talked a lot about this, is, and this is a projection that I'm just going to put a hypothetical projection on you guys. You, Philip, will probably have a lot of shit going on at work at certain times.
This is not a projection. This is life.
Okay. So I'm also psychic.
I was going to say, I'm like, how did you know?
ESPN coming through real hard. So there are times where this gets reversed, and there are things, especially in a traditional setup, or any setup, whoever is at work, whoever is outside, we forget our own. One of my favorite tattoos is that I have is the word perspective. It's a very simple one. It is where I can see it and I can read it. It reminds me to always go, look, nobody else can read this. It's upside down to them, but to you, you've got to remember they can't see what you can see. Right? And more importantly than anybody else in the world, than literally, not figuratively, literally anyone else in the world, she can't always see what I can see. But I love her more than anyone in the world, so I have to accept that certain times she's not going to see that. And if I don't tell her, if I don't share that with her, it's not her fault. Now the reason is now it's on me. Now the onus is on me. And there is a certain amount of that where, you know, the pressures of whatever I'm dealing with, if I don't share that with her, it's not her fault that she doesn't know that.
No.
And I can't then go in on her. I can't come for her because she doesn't know that. There are times when I've said it again. And then she's listening? and she's like, you know, on Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and I'm like, so. And that's a very different situation, and vice versa.
I take the blame for that.
You 100% do. But I think that's been the biggest shift in our relationship was when we started accepting responsibility for the actions that we didn't take.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dang. Look at
Like
that.
that.
I'll take a drink to
That
this.
is profound.
Well, and
Got one.
honestly, so many of our arguments lately come from you getting frustrated with me about being like, he'll just walk in the room and be like, just ask. Like, he'll hear me struggling with something or trying to do the girls or like on the phone and doing the
Shit's just falling over.
He's like,
the fire alarm's going off. There are dogs barking, but
Why
not
are
our
you
dogs.
just
And I'm very confused. This baby's crying. We don't have a baby. And I'm just trying to edit, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna stop, pause, and the fuck is happening here?
And you're trying to handle it all by yourself.
I got it. You clearly don't got it.
She looks like a Disney princess.
You don't see my perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
From this perspective, there's a shit show going on over here.
And I'm like, it would have been easier. And I will say this, I am an efficiency monster. It's not always useful. It's not always the best thing in the world, but I am a big fan of efficiency to the degree that like I tack parked in your driveway up a giant hill today because I was like,
oh my gosh,
it's more efficient for me to be able to drive straight out.
That's amazing.
See?
Well, I mean,
Colt,
I tell her that all the time.
I'm like, why? Every time we go somewhere, why do you have to back up? Like, what?
Always.
He's all about efficiency.
In the garage.
Everything is just so. Everything is just.
That's also a
It's easy
safety
for me
issue.
every
It's a whole
morning to
thing.
just go out instead of backing it.
I can't back it up. So
I can't
I just go forward. Unless there's no cars, there has to be an empty parking lot. Then I can back it up. Yeah. But if there's vehicles in the way, I'm like, you could have parked down there. Why are you trying to back up into anyways? He's all about efficiency. But you know what? I love that because I just kind of go with the flow and see what happens. So I think you need someone in the relationship that can kind of ground you and like, isn't this a better way of doing things?
It totally is, and you're also like your efficiency and organization, and it's wonderful. Now he gets very serious though about it, and a little intense, you know. So like we have this thing now. If we're going on a trip, or you know, he's got to pack the car. I pack everything that we could possibly need for the end of the world, no matter where we're going. I mean,
no, it looks like a doomsday vehicle. If we're going on an overnight trip, the Jeep. We have just for context, everybody. We have an unlimited, a 4-door Jeep Wrangler. For an overnight trip, I may have 1 cubic foot of leftover space.
Well, we have the dogs, and they have we have to bring their freezer full of food, and
I heard about that.
Yes, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Two vegans, well, not vegans, I should say vegetarians, pescatarians, traveling. 2 people who don't eat meat, constantly traveling with a minimum of 50 pounds of raw meat in a freezer. The irony is not lost on me.
So we always say I help him bring everything out to the car, and then I leave him. This is what I've learned over the years. I just leave him, and he goes, "We're best friends," and I go, "We're best friends," and then sometimes
we start everything with that.
Like,
I love you. We're best friends. This is my time.
Yeah.
No, there's no questions. There's no options until I fuck this up royally. Yeah. I got this.
Yeah.
So now I just leave him, because at first I try to help and I'd be like, "Why are you doing that? Why does it have to be? Who cares? You know."
It's okay. I'm with Colt on this one. I pack the car because he doesn't know how. That's where he lacks efficiency. He just throws stuff in there. I'm like, no, there's a system. Like, everything is a system. And I would be in a pissy mood. And so now, because I'm like, the same thing, like, just don't help. You're doing it the wrong way. And so now he knows to just bring it out. He tells the kids, don't put anything in the car.
Nope.
Just put it there, and Mom will do it. And I love it.
You're in your happy place.
I may have failed algebra, but I fucking aced geometry.
Right? I mean,
fucking aced it.
Yeah, and then he likes to put stuff in the back with the kids. It's like the kids have this little space, and they're like surrounded by stuff. I'm like,
it's not safe. It's just a safety issue at that point.
It's like, right here. They're gonna be fine. I'm like, if you packed it in the trunk efficiently, you wouldn't need the back seat. So, anyways, I have
built out sections. So because we've toured for a long time, and for those who don't know, as performers, you work on Broadway or on national tours. Like you can work in regional houses, but we work on Broadway or national tours. And on national tours, you're literally driving around the country. You sit down for 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes wherever.
You can do whatever you want. Most people fly across the country, but we have the girls and we drive and we like.
I've never ever on all of my 6+ years of touring now. Yeah. I've never ever. I drove my first one in a '67 Sprint Mustang I bought in a parking garage in Denver. That's a whole other story. I drove my second one in a Ford Lightning truck. Put it up to 220,000 miles. Thank you very much.
Gracious.
And I drove my our tour together in our Jeep. And we have it packed. I'll send you pictures, and I'll put pictures in here.
Please
but
do.
Just trust me when I say there's no availables, and I mean from the windows, for lack of a better term, to the walls. There is nothing else left except Maya, our little lab mix, has her little platform that is on stuff, but she has her bed, and then she has her section, and then Missy has her section, and then we have a section in the front, to drive, and that's it. That's all the available space. Everything else is floor to ceiling, done.
Nice.
You're very patient with me though, because when I first said, because he wasn't originally on this last tour with me, and he was filming this close, I think, and just coming back and forth. And when he wasn't shooting, he'd fly and be with me. But I said, do you want to come on tour? And that was a whole thing. It was wonderful. Yes. And do you want to work on tour, basically?
Job
and it was really fun.
Ever.
Yeah. And then if we do it, we're going to have to drive.
Together.
Yeah.
Okay.
To be able to start a show that also, to be fair, I had a very cush job. I came on, I was principal role, so I came on I did a little ditty, and then I had a 45-minute break, and then I came on and sang like a song, and then went off, came on, did a scene, went off, and then the show was over.
Yeah, that's
But at the top of the show, I would go over to her, and she would get rolled up in this magic carpet, and I would just look at her down, like rolled up in the carpet, and she'd go, hello. All right, I love you, baby. Have a good show. Okay, see you later.
So
Just like rolled up.
working together. Like,
I was going to ask that.
And there's
So
just
do you?
something special about that.
If you're not on the same, like doing the same job or show, do you travel together? You stay together, or do you
always stay together.
always stay
yeah.
together.
And I think that's
I love that.
that's
As
an
best we
interesting-
can.
Yeah, not always.
It's
but
been, I mean, the Pink tour was
that was the hardest
by
one.
far the hardest.
Because it's very different. So like the Broadway world, at least the contracts that we do, I mean, we've been very fortunate to have done a lot of great work. But you're treated kind of like you're on your own, you know, like here's your.
And also, you're doing sit downs of a minimum on the contracts that we accept. You're doing contracts of minimums of weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes, I mean, I played Chicago for like 7 months, so it wasn't really like a tour. You know, like it's wonderful because you can really rent a beautiful
It's
place.
what's called a sit down.
Yeah.
So you know, you may do a sit down in Atlanta for 3 months, or a sit down in this city for, like in LA. You were there with Aladdin. You were there for 3.5 months. And
Yeah.
We just lived in LA,
Okay.
And we
where I was
in LA.
shooting at the time, so it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, but on tour with Pink,
2 nights
Whoa.
maximum in a spot.
and they also
Okay.
need
In
you to
Germany-
travel on the tour bus and do
In
those
Germany, we
things.
did
You
what,
can't bring your
30
family.
cities in 37 or 38
Whoa.
days, because you're just traveling every night, and there you're on a bus. You go from this place to this place to this place to this place, and so when it came to Australia, so that was hard enough. Europe was very, very hard. That was, I'd say, the hardest time of our relationship, and
Yeah.
the most testing time. We were engaged at the time.
Okay.
We then found out about Australia, the Australia leg of the tour. And a lot of people don't know this. I didn't know this. So Pink is she holds all the records for live performance in Australia. She's one of the most popular performers in Australia.
Really?
And if not, I would argue the most popular.
Yeah,
like
no,
every
yeah, go nuts.
arena show, like she's the one.
Okay.
And she actually broke her own record when we were there with the Truth About Love tour. My guess is she broke it again whenever they were there with the Beautiful Trauma tour. But this is not something I'm proud of. I'm happy in certain ways that I did it, but I'm not proud of it. That tour was definitely a low point in our relationship in a lot of ways.
So you obviously were back here in the States.
Yeah. Well.
Uh-oh.
Until I called and said, hey, I know you're assisting a famous Broadway choreographer on a new upcoming Broadway show, but I can't be away from you for 3 months. So come to Australia.
Well, because Australia, I mean, it's easy to get flights from Europe back and forth, and we were doing that. Like, I'd fly to London for a couple of days if he was like kind of in the area, or Belgium, or whenever you can fly, and it's like
Belgium.
6 hours, fine. Australia is a whole other ball game and a whole other
24
beast.
hours of travel.
Yeah, he's been.
So
he's
you
been
can't
twice,
come
yeah.
home, and so he was supposed to be. I think they announced you were playing Australia for what almost would equate for 4 months, and he was like, I mean, we can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. And I was at my wit's end, just as it was, especially because there's a privacy issue, and it wasn't even so much. It was challenging on a relationship, but like. It's not normal to ask grown adults to live in a bus together, to not have privacy, I mean, and granted, a lot of these people are single and having fun, they're wonderful people, but like, we're setting up the rest of our life. And of course, I mean, it was an amazing opportunity because I was like, you have to go do this. This is fantastic. But there was a lot of, difficulty. So when Australia hit, we said, I'm coming, and I was in the middle of a great opportunity too, but it was just more important for our relationship and the future of our family for me not to do it. Not to say that felt good inside, because then I sort of struggled with not feeling validated for a while because I hadn't been doing my craft and my stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And we moved our wedding to do it.
yeah, we moved our wedding because they extended.
Really?
I think is what
Second
happened.
time, yeah.
Yeah, she kept
I
extending.
can't
the
even
tour.
imagine. Like, I go on girls' trips for a weekend, and we can't even we don't sleep well when we're apart.
Oh, no.
So I can't even imagine 3, 4, 5 months. Like, we do not sleep well at all.
Horrible.
Until we're together. And, I know couples that sleep in separate bedrooms. Like, they don't sleep in the same bed. I'm like, I can't even imagine. Like, I need to be close to him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even that he snores and does all the things.
Even that she snores.
Yeah. It's do you snore, Angelina?
I don't. He
says I do too. I'm like, no.
Okay.
No, I snore like this.
Only when I have a stuffy nose.
Oh, you don't snore. You don't snore like that.
Sweet
Like a little baby pig, maybe. But you snore.
I genuinely snore, but
See those nostrils?
Yeah.
That's the problem. See those nostrils? They're tiny. They can't fit a whole lot.
You can't get any air in there.
So you do this thing where you don't ever like. It's never that because there's no room for that. But what she does.
Soothing, like you need.
Oh, it's adorable.
I need
it's
it.
adorable. Oh, it's fucking adorable. But I film it all the time.
I film him.
You do?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I show it to him. I'm like, look what you were doing last
What
night.
you did.
Look at you.
Yeah.
And then
But she films me. She films me and closes my nose.
He's like, you're suffocating me.
I said, so I have evidence when I'm not.
I will die.
So
Please don't do that.
Yeah. I go like this, and then he's like,
Because
you know how to
choking
breathe.
to death. Because I'm choking to death.
I'm like, it sounds like your body's working and it knows how to survive on its own, so that's good. Like, you know when to get air, right?
Oh my god.
So he wakes up, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, you're snoring. No, he's like, you're suffocating me. I'm like,
Well,
then
he
stop
made me
snoring.
nervous that I
I don't remember any of
So
that.
sometimes I do, like, I'll do this.
Yeah,
and then,
like-
and then I do, like, I rub the lips a little, and I kind of
Just closing my lips.
like-
So we all see
Closing
that.
your airway.
Yeah. So just to be clear, my wife is closing off all possible entrances of oxygen.
I haven't rubbed his lips before. I do the nose and then I kind of shove. And then I start punching.
Yes.
And he's like, why are you hitting me? But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Everyone's-
Right? We wouldn't have it any other way.
I cannot sleep.
I did the other night.
There's
She
no
was
way.
kind of going off, and I kind of like shook her a little, and she still wasn't stopping. And so I just took a pillow and went and just dropped it. Like, yeah, like a foot in the air, and it just hit her. And she was like, and then she stopped for a second, and then she started back up, and I was like, I don't care now.
That's hilarious.
Because
So
at a certain point, you gotta respect it. Like,
Well, you do.
if you're willing to do that, if your soul is like, I'm gonna snore, then I'm just gonna put my other headphone in. It's cool. I love you. You deserve this.
We got a sleep number bed last year, and so we got the one that is like the divide in the.
Are those
between.
Do you like it?
Yes, I love it. It took me a minute because we had a very tall bed, a big tall bed, and so this one's down low. So it took me a minute, but yeah, I love it.
Okay.
So now it's like one of those hospital beds where you can just. So that I have the remote, and I'm like to see how far until.
Are you shifting him up?
Sometimes he's like
You
just
elevate it.
sleeping like this.
It'll stop you from snoring. So one morning I woke up and I'm like this.
You sit straight up.
How did I get
He's
here?
like sitting straight up sleeping. I'm like, but I slept like a baby.
What? is
I'm
going
like, let me
on?
see. Well, you weren't stopping, so I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going until he actually stops snoring. So he was like sitting up sleeping.
I love that you have the remote for his side.
Yeah. Well, it's one remote, and he can control mine, but you don't have to do that with me.
I always
I
fall
don't
asleep
know.
before you. That's
Well,
why.
You're
I
gonna
don't
wake
know.
up and your feet are gonna be
I know.
straight up in the air, just over your head.
It was so funny, and the kids come in, they're like, "Daddy slept like that." I'm like, yeah.
And he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He chose this.
I'm like,
He chose this position.
Hey, he chose it.
He
yeah,
didn't decline.
Yeah.
You didn't disagree with me when I put him there.
Like that.
Oh.
So join us next week for part 2 of A Commitment to Grow Together, where we continue the conversation. So I want to end the show with this. Normally I end with a quote. Normally it's short, but I found this on Pinterest, and it's not as short as it normally is, but I have to share it. It says, "They say love is blind. I disagree. Infatuation is blind. Love is all-seeing and accepting. Love is seeing all the flaws and blemishes and accepting them. Love is accepting the bad habits and mannerisms and working around them. Love is recognizing all the fears and insecurities and knowing your role is to comfort. Love is working through all the challenges and painful times. Infatuation is fragile and will shatter when life is not perfect. Love is strong and it strengthens because it is real. Thank you so much for listening to Virago 24/7. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and please give us 5-star ratings. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Virago24_7 and on Facebook at Virago24/7. And just connect with us and share your story. We'd love to hear from you.